highs on NQ right now. Alrighty. Can you guys see this? Too small, too big? Should I Is that good? It's like huge on my screen, but obviously it's different on your guys's. Small, good. Yeah, I can see just fine. Yes. Is this good? Is this good here? Awesome. All right. We'll get started here in just a second. Hey Jesse, do you know anything about the broker Trade Locker? If their name is Trade Locker, no, I've never heard of them. And I would be very hesitant to use any brokers I haven't heard of. Well, not like I haven't heard of, but you haven't heard of either. There's enough good brokers out there to pick the good ones. All right, we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. 2 more minutes. We'll start 11:10. Should be a pretty quick one. Um, we'll see how complicated I make it, but yeah, should be a good one. I'm in this NQ long, just scalping it. I'm up 10 points, but I'll probably close it before I start this. Robert Sola. Sounds a lot like Robert Sala. Every trade you take is 100 micros. No. This is just an example. This is not my actual trading. This is just an example. For easy math, we did 100, or I did 100 micros, and then I trimmed 50% each time. So 50% here, and then 50% of the remaining here, 50% of the remaining here, etc., etc. It is not what I do. Just an example. You can take this math and divide it by 10 or multiply it by 10, and it will be the same. Let's say you want to do 10 micros. You would trim 5 at 1R. You'd probably trim 2 at 2R, another 2 at 4R, 1, 1, 1, or however that math works. So, no, it is just an example, and this is how I did my math to decide this stuff. Then what's an actual example of yours? I do not give that out. It doesn't matter either. My risk, I have been trading a lot longer, so even if I did trade 100 micros, which I don't, I'm somewhere between 0 and 100. But if I traded 100, my skill level is much different than somebody who's learning. And so I shouldn't be, I won't tell you that I trade 70 micros an account, because you're not, if you're learning, and or if you're asking me what my size is, you want to know so that you can put it on. You don't have the same risk management as me. So I don't give my size out. I size enough to make this a living, a full-time job. I do not ever claim to make millions of dollars, but I make a good living. So, but all that's irrelevant. The risk is irrelevant because it can grow or shrink based on your account size. If you have a $200,000 account, $2,000 risk is only 1%. Right. But if you have a $2,000 account, 2,000 risk is 100%. So you just got to figure out what you want to risk. And like I said, this is kind of dynamic. It can raise or lower with your whatever you want. How many points is 2R? How many points is your risk? It depends on how big the stop loss is. If the stop loss is 10 points, then 2R is 20 points. If the stop loss is 20 points, then the 2R is 40 points. 2R is 2 times your risk. That's how it always will be, how it always is. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. What's going on, guys? It's Expo Jesse. Today on Teaching Tuesdays, we're going to go over trade management. So first, a disclaimer, this stuff is not my actual sizing. This is only what I did for an easy way to explain everything. So I did, if I'd had 100 micros or 10 minis on an account, for the trim section here, I would trim 50% at 1R, 50% of the remaining at 2R, 50% of the remaining at 4R, so on and so forth, all the way up to 10R. If it's 10R, it's out. So as you can see, my risk is $2,000. Say it's a 10-point trade. And I don't break even until 2R, so that's the risk. But if the trade goes all the way to 10R, then I'm up 3 times my risk. So a pretty hefty amount. So this is my January my whole year recap from January to December, everything except for December 19th trades. So this is going to be real data. We're going to dissect it month by month and see how different trade systems work. So let's start with January. So January, on this right side, you'll see how many trades hit 1R, how many trades hit 2, 4, 5, 7, and 10. These are my trims. The reason I skip 3R is because if you hit 2R, the amount of points it takes for you to go to 4R is the same as it takes to go to 0 or stop loss break even. So I skip 3R. Depending on the trade, I'll do 5R. And for those who aren't familiar, R means return of risk. So if my risk is $2,000 and I chose to risk that $2,000 over 10 points, I would be risking $200 a point. And if it hit my stop loss, I would lose $2,000. If it hit my take profit, or if it hit 1R, I'd be up $2,000. So I'm up 1 times my risk. So for those who aren't familiar with what R means, it's just return of risk. Okay. So this is going through how many trades hit each return multiplier. So as you can see, I had 54 total trades, 44 winners, but only 41 hit 1R. That means 3 of them I trimmed at less than 1R. It can be a lot of reasons for that. It can be that I'm in a 20-point trade and I took profit at 15 points. It can be that I just was getting psyched out and wanted to take profit at 7 points. It can be a lot of things. And the same thing for here. If I hit 10R, it means I caught the entire trend for that whole day, or at least a lot of it. So these are going to be super, super rare. And so the purpose of this video and this lesson today is to really just optimize my profit and show you guys how you can do this for your own data. So basically what I did was, and I'll show you a little bit of the calculations on the behind the scenes. So for 1R, I took everything's going to be based on $2,000 risk per trade. 1R is assuming that I take full profit at 1R. So if it's a 20-point trade, I take profit at 20 points, and I might miss out on an extra 40 points or 50 points if it goes all the way up to 70, but I took profit at 1R. So it's going to calculate, it's going to multiply this 1R number, which is counting everything that is over 1, and then it is going to multiply by 2,000 and subtract that by C4, which is the losses, times 2,000. So subtracting 7 times 2,000. So here it is multiplying 41 times 2,000, so 80 whatever 2,000 minus 14,000, and that is how we have 68,000 here. For 2R, it is calculating K9, which is the 2R number, which is calculating everything over 2R. So every trade that hit over 2R, there's 32 of those. And then subtracting the same thing, C4 minus 2, or C4 times 2,000, subtracting that number. 50% 1R trim, 50% 2R trim. This is in case it's a choppy market and you don't want to hold all the way to 2R, or I don't want to hold all the way to 2R, then I trim 50% at 1R, 50% at 2R. And if I take both those trims, it's going to yield a 1.5R trade. So I take K9 times 2,000 or 3,000 because that is 1.5R minus the same thing. Trims is a little more complicated. So down here you'll see minus 1R. I go through and I say I calculated 1R is taking profit at, I get $1,000 because I'm taking 50 micros, aka $2 a micro, $100 at 10 points, and that is $1,000. And then I take 25 micros at 20 points, aka $50 per point. That is $2,000 total. 4R, taking another 1,000, 3,000 total. So I just did this simple math to see how much profit I'm taking at each trim. And then based on my percent return, this is going to calculate and say, show me exactly how much money I would make during that trade. So as you can see, it takes up to 4R for me to be net positive on a trade. If I'm trimming, a 2R is kind of break even. And this is, again, huge disclaimer. This is not taking into account any ads into the trades. So those who've been trading with me for a while, you know that I add into trades somewhat frequently. And this data on my trade tracker, I don't take ads into the account there, so it's not going to show that. Question here, Mario, is the 2R not taking any trim at 1R holding or total holding the trade? Yes, total holding the trade to 2R. So that's why I calculated times K9, because I would only win on 32 trades. And then these are stop loss break even after 1R. Because obviously I don't know the exact what happens after that. So where was I? So yeah, so I took the profit of each, and then I have this long if statement, basically telling me if it's over a certain number, then it corresponds to how much profit I would take during that trade. So this is over 5R, but not at 7R. So I took 36.50. If it's less than 0% either, or sorry, if it's less than 1R either way, so if I have a minus like 70% or a minus or a plus 70%, it's 0. So it has to hit 1R or stop loss, one or the other. So then I go down here and I count every time it says minus 2,000, which is a minus 1R. I have 7 of those. And then I have 7 that say 1R, 7 that say, or 13 that say 2R, sorry, 9 that say 1R, so on and so forth. And then this column will calculate times based on this up here. So 9,000, this is times 2,000, this is times 3,000, this is times 3650, 5210, 6010. Okay, this might be, you might need to watch this over again. It might not make sense yet, but it's a lot of data. So then I take a sum of L36 to L41. So this is 36 to 41. And then subtract it by 7, or this cell times 2,000. And that yields the trims. So that is behind the scenes of how each of these work, so that, you know, I'm not just fudging all the numbers and, you know, doing whatever I want with them. Sorry, guys. All right. So now that you know how the behind the scenes works, we can go through each data each month and see how the market changes. So let's start with December. Here's my data so far. I have a 77% win rate, rounded up, 1.6 risk to reward, average loser 97.2, average winner 1.55. And I know I didn't get anything over 2R today, so that's going to obviously be impacted. So I have 23 trades that hit 1R. I have 8 trades that hit 2, 3 that hit 4, and 3 that hit 5. These are probably the same trades that hit 3 or 4 and 5R. So you can see that December obviously is a month that I didn't make much profit past 1R, which is why 1R is the most profitable in December. Trims is, you know, not horrible. It's above 50% of whatever 1R was. 2R would have been the worst way to trade, or second worst. 50% 1R, so 50% 2R would be the worst. So it's obviously December, very choppy month. 1R would have been better. We'll leave it at that. Go back to the data. We can kind of look here and see which months are going to have the highest risk to reward, and those months are going to be the ones to look at to see which would be the most optimal. Obviously, I know based on the data, trims are the best. 2R second best. 1R is third, and 50% is the worst. But let's go through each month. It's going to be maybe a little longer than I anticipated, but we'll go through each month and see which system was the best. Now, here's the biggest piece for it. The difference between a 1R trade system, 2R trims. You have to find your personality. This is where, you know, finding out how you are as a trader and how you are as a person is very, very important. When I go here to the overview, this is data that I put in last night. A 2R trade system has a 61% win rate, but obviously is almost just as profitable as trims. But for me, if I had a 60% win rate, there would be a lot of self-doubt. There'd be a lot more droughts going on. And overall, I would just not enjoy trading as much as a 77% win rate. Um, so that's a big piece of the puzzle. You have to decide how you are as a trader to determine which system works best for you. If you aren't, and again, this isn't taking into account ads, um, but also the 1R system isn't taking into account that on the 10R trades, if I'm hitting just those only count as 1R win, if that makes sense. If I'm taking a trade for 10R, that only counts as one win. But if I change that to count for multiple getting in and getting out at 1R, this number would be higher. And again, this is not what I made this year. This is just based on this data. Okay. So it's just for math. So January, pretty good month. Most trades, if I see 4R in the double digits, I know it's been a pretty decent month. Almost 20 trades at 4R, risk to reward at 4.18. I know that this month was a pretty good, directionally biased month. 3 trades at 10R. A lot of trades hit 2R that hit 1R. So really good month. That's why 2R was the most profitable. If I would have taken profit just at 1R, I would have missed out on about 50% of profit versus 2R. And then trims is the second best in January. In February, 2R wins again. What's that? About 60% of trades that hit 1R hit 2R as well. 94% win rate in February. That's pretty incredible. 4.36 risk to reward, average per trade. 13 trades hit 1R, then stop loss break even. So as we can see, 2R is the best, and then trims, but 1R is pretty steady. March was pretty decent month, 74%. My target for everyone here, my target's 70% win rate. That is pretty average. It used to be 80% is what I would target, but I just found that I would be taking profit too early. And then I started playing the metrics more than the actual trade system. So I lowered my expectations to 70. So anything over 70% is pretty good. Obviously, I want a positive risk reward too. Here in March, 1R trim hit 48,000. Trims was just barely behind. So it was actually better in March to hit the 1R trims and go forward. And the reason for that is 22 trades hit 1R, then stop loss break even. So over 50% of the trades that hit 1R ended up going to break even. Here's April. Really tight spread again. 2R is second best. Trims is the best. 1R is right behind. So I would venture to guess that 1R with, like this 800%, 759. I had 5 trades at 7R. I would assume that out of those 5 trades, I'm probably taking at least another 5 trades at 1R. So it would put that 1R to be the best trade system for me in that month. Here's May. Trims is the best. 1R is close behind. About 50% of trades hit 1R, then stop loss break even. We're halfway through. Stick with me. June was the only month that one system would have had a negative month, and that's the 50%, 50%. Obviously, this is not a very good system. 1R would have been the best. Trims second best. 2R would have been almost break even month. I had a lot of time off in June, if I remember correctly. I had soccer camp for a week. I think I took that whole week off. Then I had 2 days of a golf outing. So like 7 days out of the month, which is why there was lower trade volume. And then it was probably just a tricky market to trade as well. But okay. July came back swinging, 76 total trades, 78% win rate, 2.63 R. 25 trades hit 1R, then stop loss break even out of 43 trades that hit 1R. So well over 50%, which is why 1R looks to be the most profitable. Well, close. Again, a 10R trade and a 7R trade, both of those I'm probably adding another 2 or 3 R in extra trades since I would be out of the original trade. A lot of the same words coming out of my mouth. A lot of R's and a lot of trades. So here is August. 5 more months. Stick with me. 2R is the best. Trim's second best. 1R is the third best. Again, August looks to be a little better of a month. Less than 50% trades hit 1R than stop loss break even. Only 18 out of 46. Here is September. 10 trades hit stop loss break even after 1R, and that we had 27 trades hit 1R, so less than 50%, which is why 1R is not the leading indicator here. Trims are. October, similar thing, about 50% trades hit 1R than stop loss break even. So 1R would have been not the most profitable, and trims would have been the most profitable. Here is November. Trims had it by a mile because less than, 25%, 30% hit 1R than stop loss break even. So a pretty good directional month of November. I actually remember taking a look at that when I was longing for a directional day this week. Here is December. 15 trades out of 23 hit 1R that stop loss break even. I'm pretty sure both of mine today hit 1R, maybe even half R, then stop loss break even. So 1R would have been the best. So here is the overview after all my rambling. So trims made the most money on them. If I put this on a trading bot, trims would have made the most money. 50% 1R, 50% 2R would have made money, but not the most. 1R would have made pretty good money. 2R would have been good money as well. But then remember, 60% win rate, 61. If you can handle that, then 2R might be the system for you. I know my Uncle Sam, he is a very different person from me in that sense. He could take, one win out of 4, but as long as he knows that he's going to make money in the end, he doesn't care how many trades he loses in a row. Me, I would rather have like a 85% win rate and a 1 risk to reward, and know that my win rate is going to make me feel confident in my system every single day that I'm trading. So it's going to be very, very based on your own results. In this video, I showed you all my calculations, so you can make this sheet for yourself. I might make it available to my people. And then you can input your own data. Now, again, it took a little bit of time, took an evening to do, but it's well worth it. Before last night, I knew that trims was the best because I add into trades, but I'm surprised to see that 1R is very close. And then also, again, for like the 4th time of me saying, those trades that hit like 4R plus, I'm probably taking another 2 trades in those that are going to yield more profit. So 1R is probably the most profitable system for me, just based on how I scalp. Very close to trims. Have a couple questions here. Do you ever list what system you took for the trade? Well, no, because every time I'm taking trims. I think that's what you mean, Huey. Mikey said, I'm working, so I missed this. Is the 1R calculation take into account the 20-point stop loss, or saying if every trade had a 10-point? Yeah, it's just saying every risk is 2,000. So it's the 1R. What's that? Here, 1R is just calculating if the percent return is over 1. It doesn't take into account any stop loss size. So like if you had a 100-point stop loss, it would be the same. Jesse, what size do you recommend for 150K, 4,500 drawdown? 40 micros, where a 1R loss would be 800. 4,500. Well, you have to, if it's a count, you would have to check your data, but I would say no more than like I would want to have at least 5 trades as a buffer. So yeah, 800. If if you're very confident in your system, 800 is fine. If you're even like questioning it, I would probably size down to lose 400 per trade or 500 a trade. Um, if you not even just questioning, if you just want to increase your survivability, I guess, um, I would do 900 or sorry 500 per trade because you can always size up. I'm assuming it's Apex because Top Step doesn't have a well, they do have an account drawdown, which I guess is 4,500. Um, but I do more on Top Step daily drawdown, the 3,000 to I just lose three trades in a row. I'm done for the day on the daily limit. So that's about 30 minutes of me rambling about numbers and math. Really, I mean, it does have a lot to do with trading, but not as much, reading a chart as it is looking at the data, which I think is very, very, it's very, very important. If I know some analysts, quote unquote analysts, if you have a trading bot, first of all, if you have a trading bot and you can sell your service to a server owner, you can name yourself an analyst. I don't think, and I think until you can have a trade tracker and history and, actual trades, that you're not really an analyst. So anyway, quote unquote analyst. It's very important for you to know your trade tracker and have this data, because if I didn't have my data since January, I wouldn't even know how to I wouldn't even know how to look at my data. I would have to go through all my broker statements and look at it. So this is a testament also to keep track of your data and look at look at yourself every single day. Hold yourself accountable to put your trades into a trade tracker. My trade tracker now has, let's see, this way, 2,500 trades in it. So I can do this data for everything now. This crypto one, I barely count because it was back in the day and bad risk to reward, lots of scalping. But anyway, you need to have this data so that you can do the similar thing with yourself. So I'll open it up to Q&A if we have any questions. Mikey, this sheet will be in the for my people. Huey said, very interesting. I did not expect those results. The 50% 1R, 50% 2R doing so poorly was surprising. Yeah, it was surprising to me too. I guess that's assuming, I guess I could have done the math differently, because that's assuming you hit 2R. It's not taking into account these trades. Yeah, so I guess I could do the math differently to where it takes 1,000 here well, yeah, the math needs to be a little different, because 50% at 1R means I take 1,000 here, and then 2R would mean I take another 1,000. No, I would take 2,000 at 2R. So yeah, that math actually needs to be different, because that's assuming it hit. Oh wait, here I can just do this. What is that? 15. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll fix this. Oh wait, now it's messed up. It might be even worse. Someone who is thinking logically, is that logic look correct? So 1R then stop loss break even means I made $9,000 on those 9 trades. And then the other 32 trades, which is K9, I made 2,000 on. So that should be correct. No. This should be 3,000. Yeah, because if it hits 2R, I made 3,000. If it hit 1R stop loss break even, I only made 9. That is correct there. I think I did the math a little wrong there. There you go. That is better. Let me double check live. All right, K9, just 2R. If it hits that, then I made 3,000 on the trade. Correct. 1.5R. K15 is 1R, then stop loss break even, which is the difference between these two. Those I made 1,000 minus C4 times 2,000. Correct. Okay, that's more accurate. I don't know what it was before, 3,000, because I didn't take into account the trades that were 1R, then stop loss break even. So this is more accurate. So kind of changes things. Like I said, this 1R column isn't taken into account getting back into a trade. Like even if it hits 2R, if it's still going in my direction, I might just take another trade as soon as I take profit. So it's not taking into account that piece. Mario said data history is great to see. I echo Mike because that is what I was feeling as well to do the 50-50. I might just adjust to 1R for a higher win rate and close to the same return. Less trading stress. Yeah. Well, it's definitely, even after the recalculation, it's definitely going to be close. But the 1R, again, for like the 7th time of me saying it, you can get back into a trade at 1R. You should post 3R and 4R so we can see the win rate and profit margin. I don't know what that means. I have that. I don't do 3R. I explained that earlier, but I have 4R. And then if I trim at 4R, but no, I'm not doing any more calculations. I'll give you the sheet and you can go crazy. 50% at 1R is 1,000 or 2,000. 50% at 1R would be 1,000 because I'm trimming 100 micros would be 50 micros trim at 1R, where I'd be trimming 50% of my position at $2,000, so it'd be up 1,000. And then I would have the other 50 micros at 2R, which would be 2,000. So I would have 3,000 if it hit 2R. The trade would be worth 3,000. Bruh, please said, hi, Jesse. How do you deal with a trailing drawdown with your strat? I take profit. Gotta take profit until that trailing drawdown's no longer an issue. And then you can let things run. KK, how much do you think commissions would be? Well, again, it's not saying, this is just an example. You can do this with 10 micros and divide everything by, divided by 10. This is just an example of, for quick math, how to turn micros. You're probably never going to be at the point where you're taking 100 micros on one account. So Crystal said, okay, so this is a 10-point risk for 2,000. Yeah, well, for these numbers, just for this column here, just to determine the risk to reward, for quick and easy math. For this column, it doesn't matter how much point, like here, let's see, like here, right in the middle, NQ long 40 points, but then up here, and that was 3,000 at 4R. But here is MNQ for 120 points for 3650 because that's over 5R. So this is 3650. So for the math, I did it at 10 points, but the results don't need to be 10 points. It just needs to figure out the return of risk, which is this column here. Mikey said, I have done the monthly calculations myself in the past based on taking 100% profit at 1R using 5 micros, and the monthly return is around 2,500 to 3,000. Nice. Brett, please said, okay, so you take full profit at 1R. Not necessarily, no. Sometimes it'll be like 15 points or 20 points, or it just depends on the market. Like today, I'd probably take full profit at 10 points. But no, it just depends, man. Crystal said, I'll go through the data to better understand things. Yeah, you bet. This will be, I'll share this actually right now. Where should I put this? I'll throw it in here. Would this strategy work with a trading bot? You mentioned something about bots. I'm not too familiar. Well, I mean, it definitely could. I'm just saying if I put each one of these systems in a trading bot, here is how they would perform. I mean, the problem with a trading bot, and I do have a trading bot. It's just not working great right now. The problem is just not necessarily the entry, because the bot that I have is a strat trading bot. The problem with that bot is that it won't take profit according to strat rules. It takes profit based on risk to reward, which is not how I want it to do it. But if you were able to replicate my system into a trading bot, it would do this. KK, I do live trade on Google Meets, just not publicly. Any other questions? Alrighty. Well, I am going to stop presenting here. And we can go ahead and end it here. If we have any other questions, go ahead and list them here. But unless there is anything, I will see you all here probably after the holidays. I'm not going to trade here tomorrow. And I'll probably take a peek tomorrow at the market and just see if it was interesting enough for me to come Thursday, but probably not. I mean, let me pull up Trading View again. We're still in this range. That's not going to work for YouTube. Anyway, YouTube, thanks for coming out. I'll see you guys later. And